don't think there's anything wrong with going straight into something saying, oh, I'm really good at this. I think the directedness and candor shows confidence in a skill set.
I think a lot of women probably also wish they had a lot more of that tea. I'm going to reference a book, Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg, and it's relevant to what you just said, because one of the points in her book she kind of talks about is the fact that women often like really undervalue their own skills and experience. So
hopefully you have a workplace that's open enough that you can communicate to your leadership, like what traits you want to see in them and what you value out of leadership.
Yeah, I think it's good to uncover that during the interview process, actually. Talking about that and asking them, like, what do they think leadership is?
How do you prefer to communicate? I gave a really good example just a moment ago about one of our team members. And when I provide her with feedback, she does not like, for lack of better words, beating around the bush. She just wants me to get straight to the thing.
We love direct feedback because we know the intention behind it. Like, there has to be a caveat there. But if the intention's not right, then you don't love it. What would your user manual say about you?
Welcome to the Marketing Mentors podcast, brought to you by Red Pandas Digital. I am Tasha, joined by my furry friend, Ellie.
Shit, yeah. That's how you were introducing me for a second.
Maybe last week, but you're not. Nah, Linda. And of course, my non-furry, sometimes hairy friend.
Depends what day of the week it is.
Linda, so awesome to be here again.
Good to be back.
On the Marketing Mentors podcast, and that sounded interesting. What would your user manual say about you?
Yeah, very interesting.
Yes, and now this is in the context of work and what you would do at work. Don't put that context anywhere else.
In your personal life.
If you do, it's offline, not on this podcast, maybe another one. All right, so the inspiration for this podcast came from a newsletter that I received maybe weekly or so, and there was a topic or a sentence in this newsletter that said something along the lines of, should you be creating a user manual to communicate to your new colleagues, like during onboarding? Mm-hmm. So it's this idea of, you get a new job, you go somewhere, doesn't really matter what space. I think at the end of the day, we are all in the space of being communicators and learning how to communicate to people. And I liked this. It resonated with me because I recall a time we did some communications training late last year, and basically we were all prompted, the whole team was prompted to say, identify or share with the team one of your communication flaws, right? So we went around the room and everyone in the team shared a flaw that they felt that they had in regards to communication. And I learnt heaps about the team. I learnt heaps about colleagues that I'd known for years. I learnt heaps about colleagues that I'd only known for months. So when I read that in my inbox, that sparked that conversation. And then I was like, you know what? I'd love to have a chat with Linda about this one and see what, what comes of it, because it's interesting.
Yeah.
Like, how much do we want to share with potentially new employers or new colleagues? Even new friendships in a way, if you think about it.
Yeah.
How much do we want to share with them about who we are, how to operate with us?
Yeah. I'm not opposed to it. I think there are, and we'll go through like the different sections that was recommended as part of this like user manual. Maybe part of it is just the word user manual.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's putting me off because I'm like, we're humans, we're not a robot.
Yeah.
We don't need like an instruction booklet. So that there is just throwing me off. Maybe like if we called it something else, it would feel better.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm not opposed to it with onboarding. So when someone becomes an employee as part of an organization, I like the idea of it. And I think that the topics that we're going to go through, some of them are actually really great. And if you asked me these questions about all of my colleagues, I actually wouldn't be able to answer it, which is kind of disappointing. And so I see merit in that. And I agree, like I saw a lot of value when we did that communications workshop last year. I don't know how I feel about it when we are applying for roles.
I hear you, Linda. I think, if you're going for a new job, the last thing you want to be doing is, exposing all your flaws and weaknesses in the wrong light.
Yeah.
I think
or just at the wrong stage.
Yeah,
I think it's important to have that conversation, but I don't think it's the first thing that potential employees need to see when everyone is selling themselves, right?
100%. That first 3 months of a new role, you're on probation. You don't want someone to use a vulnerability that you share potentially against you, but also just misunderstood in the wrong light.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of a formula here that we found. We're going to just rattle through them, have a chit chat about them, and we'd love to hear for anyone listening, like, what do you think?
Yeah.
I feel like a user manual for my husband would be great. But this is, like I said, we're talking about the workspace. Maybe our After Hours podcast can be like a different type of user manual.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, what are you great at? So this is an interesting one that you could have in the, Tasha Del Bianco or Linda D'Amico's, user manual. It's weird. You're right. The more you say user manual.
Right? Like it's just
maybe it's like
wrong, that terminology. I don't know why.
What did you say before? It's not a user.
You know why as well? I think that user manual just doesn't sit right with me, because when I think of a user manual, I'm like thinking of like a written document.
Yeah.
Whereas like a lot of these things that we're talking about, in my opinion, should be conversational. Like, I don't think that you should be developing something like this in a document.
Yeah, well, it could be a series of looms.
Looms or like, but like, when you're in a new company, like you want to establish real connection with your colleagues. We've spoken about this before and how important that is to get buy-in and learn and get your colleagues on your side.
I totally agree. I can see a combination of both, right? Because like if you're a good writer or you're a good content creator, you could create like a manual, quote unquote manual, that talks to some of these things.
It aligns though to that job, does it not?
Yeah.
I agree, T. Like it makes sense. Like if we hired a content manager, content writer.
And they applied with a user manual.
Yeah,
like
it's also showcasing their skills. Like they don't have to talk about what they're great at.
Yeah.
It's just documenting that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I hear. All right. Well, look, let's get into it. Let's have a chat about these things. So the first one is, what are you great at? I think it's a good one.
Yeah. I mean,
this is kind of like your resume, right?
Yeah, that's your resume there.
You just talk about the things that you're good at.
Yeah.
You're good at still developing. Like obviously sometimes you do the right words, but okay, cool. The next one on this list is how you've leveraged that to deliver results.
Yep.
Right? So if you say you're a great leader, you can say that you've used your amazing leadership skills to lead your team of 20 from, a team of 4, and you've grown the team to 20 by X, Y, Z or whatever it might be.
Yeah, I think like if I was to envision how this would be, I would imagine storytelling would be really good at like combining these first two things together.
Yep.
Because it has to be different from your resume. You know what I mean? Like if someone's applying for a role, they get the job, chances are at least SLT have seen the resume anyway.
Yep.
So doing the same thing again almost seems pointless.
SLT, senior leadership team.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not BLT.
Or MVP. Or bacon, lettuce, tomato.
What? Who's hungry?
Ellie is.
Thanks for joining us, dog.
I think storytelling could be really cool here.
Yeah.
So talking about past experiences, integrating storytelling, that way you can kind of combine what you're great at without having to actually say, I'm great at XYZ, and this is like how.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good tip. Like using storytelling techniques to show, demonstrate, give examples of the things that you're good at and how you've achieved them. I don't think there's anything wrong with going straight into something saying, I'm really good at this.
Yeah.
I think the directedness and candor shows confidence in a skill set, but I see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
So like you're coming maybe from this like storytelling, build up the whole profile, make it something that's like put a bit more effort into it than just I'm good at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I also think that that's a personality thing.
I was literally just about to say.
Like I can definitely see.
Cut the story. Just get to what are you good at?
like I wish I had more of that, and I think a lot of women probably also wish they had a lot more of that tea. Like I'm going to reference a book, Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg, and it's relevant to what you just said, because one of the points in her book she kind of talks about is the fact that women often like really undervalue their own skills and experience. So men are able to really talk up their skills and experience and like really kind of add heaps of GST to the work that they've done. Whereas most women or many women that are trying to be in like leadership roles, they struggle with that. And then that I feel like with that being said, we have to it's almost like a natural bias in a way. Like you don't want to use that to like hold you back, but being aware of it is important. And it would be a struggle, I think, for a lot of women to be able to do what you're saying. Yeah. Like openly talk about like XYZ, I'm great at all these things.
Yeah.
Like
I hear you. It's just residual patriarchy. Without getting into it. It's just that old mindset that still getting shaken off. I think our generation, and I'm definitely seeing it in the younger female leaders.
Yeah.
They don't have it as much as we do, and definitely not as much as like our
That's a good point.
the women before us. So, yeah, and it's cool to see the evolution change and what's happening. But I hear you. Linda, I still get those moments where I might be in a room of leaders or like stakeholders, males, whatever you want to call them. And I have like huge imposter syndrome because it's again that residual like stereotype or, you know, gender norm that comes out like, oh no, women aren't meant to be direct or loud or seen or heard. Do you know what I mean? So it's still there, and I think it's something that we're just chipping away at. But us talking about it, showing up to work, working for an incredible boss that like empowers us, I think is all the things that we're doing to work towards, you know, just a better future for our daughters.
I love that.
And Ellie. So that's a good one. What you're great at, how you've leveraged, use some storytelling, be direct. Like there's all these tips. This is just advice. This is just general conversation. This is not like gospel. Don't take it like you have to do it all. I think our hope for this podcast in general is just to share information and let you know, listeners take things on and maybe inspire them.
Make their own decisions.
Exactly. This is an interesting one. What you're working on improving. So some might say this is your weaknesses because you're trying to improve them. Or you might also think that this could be like goals, you know, what you're trying to achieve, what you're working on.
I like the latter.
Interesting. Yeah, I also do.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be going off sharing my weaknesses with people I've just met right away.
Agree.
I'm aware of my weaknesses.
Yeah.
And I would try and just keep them in touch or keep them in check, especially when going new places. I don't necessarily think it's something that you need to have like, here's my weaknesses, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't love that one.
But I don't mind the idea of here's what I'm not so much as working on. Look, what I just said, here's what you're working on proving is so ambiguous.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? Are you trying to lift more weight, lose weight, like grow your hair, get a bigger butt? Like what do you mean? What are you working on improving? So there's so many elements to it. So maybe you just pick a few things that are relevant to the job that you've just gotten or the job you're going for or the message, the persona that the brand you're trying to build. Yeah. You know, we're communication coaches and we are working on our communication. Like we say it every episode.
Yeah.
We are actively working on our communication. And not just like how to talk. No, I mean like deep communication skills.
Yeah. I think that requires a conversation though.
Yeah.
I don't know if it like I'm struggling to see how that would work on paper. Yep. You know what I mean? Like, you know how you just elaborated on that? I don't feel like
how's that going to come up?
Working on communication. Like that could almost look negative in a way. You know, I'm working on my communication with no context at all because they then don't know the history behind all the work that you've done. You know what I mean? Like a conversation, they're able to see how you converse, what your communication style is like. Yeah, I don't like if someone was to tell me to do this, I don't know if I would.
Yeah, Liz like,
I think I wouldn't, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I'd do it just for the fun of it.
Would you? Would you really do this?
For the fun of it, to see what it looks like. But then like, you know, once it's done, once you've got a user manual, Tasha Dalbianco's user manual. Jesus, I don't think there's enough papers in the world to fill out a user manual. See what I mean though?
Read with caution.
Yeah, 100%, because it's like, what do you mean specifically? What do you want to know more about me? Yeah. Who wants this user manual? Yeah. Because we can have a better conversation. So to your point, I'd do one, but it would be flawed. Yeah. And then someone might misunderstand, misinterpret, it be miscommunicated. So I think what you're saying is way more logical, but I'm a little bit more just do it, see what happens. Yeah. And I can, as I'm talking it out, I'm going, oh, okay, probably would just like it would say, you know, working on communication, right? And then I was like, oh. Yeah. Yeah. Well, what do you mean? Like, how do you articulate what we do as communication students and coaches? Yeah. It's crazy. So I hear you. What drives you nuts? Yeah, again, not enough paper for me to fill with the list of things that drives me nuts. Yeah. Like dogs fighting in a podcast. I don't know. Like, same. But I hear you. Again, context. Yeah. Like, are you going for a corporate job?
I think that this would just make an amazing conversation. Yeah. Like, I don't know that about all my colleagues. Chat. Like I know that about you.
Yeah.
I know that about Mobes.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could answer that for everybody.
Yeah, true. See, but maybe if we had user manuals for everyone, you'd be able to know. It's like that Elena doesn't like it when people call her Elena. No, I'm joking. That's not. That's a mad joke. What doesn't she like? There's a few things. Oh, yeah. When you give her, when she wants feedback, she wants feedback now.
Right.
And she wants it straight and forward. No
direct.
No pageantry around it.
Yeah.
So like those are things that I remember about your team. And maybe that's something that, you know, if we had user manuals, it is weird saying it online. Like that. What your quirks? What makes you weird? I don't know if this is something we need to necessarily write because as you meet people, you get to learn. I do like knowing like interesting facts about people.
Yeah.
Personally, I think they're awesome because when you know that like someone's the top 100 tennis player in Australia.
Oh my God, why are we perpetuating this?
This is an interesting fact about Linda.
It's a really big joke. I was not.
But see what I mean? Like we've had so much banter around it. Like it's like rapport's built. You get to know more about your colleagues.
Yeah.
And this is that concept of like you have something to learn from everyone.
Yeah.
And if you meet someone and you think, oh, that person's boring, be like, no, you're the boring one because you didn't ask the right questions.
You just don't know enough about them. Yeah.
Exactly. You didn't learn enough about them. So I feel like, you know, in a user manual, some interesting facts about a person and they can't just be like, oh, my favorite color is purple. Like that's not interesting. It has to be something like.
I feel like you would write something like that.
Probably because I think purple is the most amazing color in the world. Not everyone's as comfortable as I am to talk about myself for so long. So there's, you know, that's the reason why user manuals might as well. Also be good.
Yeah, you've got people and they'll have different, like their guards will come down at certain points. Like yeah, they might not feel comfortable to talk about it straight away.
Exactly.
But I'm sure down the track, I
don't know how I feel about this one because like personality types, there's so many different types of tests.
I have done these quite a few when I've started new jobs. Yeah.
We've done heaps of them and I just don't know if I don't know how accurate they are. Everyone uses different personality tests.
I just feel like they go nowhere. Like when I've done them in the past.
You're like, okay, cool.
Yeah, like you don't actually carry it through with your ongoing like engagement with different team members and employees. Like it's a one-off conversation, but you never revisit it again. So I feel like it's a lost opportunity.
The one that we did a little while ago, the temperament test years ago, where you had like your analytical, clerical, sanguine.
Oh, yep.
I only remember sanguine.
I just remember like water, fire.
Yeah, I felt like they were interesting, probably the most interesting ones we've ever done, only because they spoke more to like emotional traits as well and like the sense of like inner deep core emotions. So less about being organized and strategic. Yeah. But like disc. Yeah. Like a little bit more deeper, like behavior. I don't know. I can't recall.
I see value in those if they're like not just a once off.
Yeah, well it's just like it's knowing the you and I that like the different temperaments we have.
Yeah.
What's it done for our working relationship? I guess, you know, I've learnt that you need XYZ to be able to do this thing. You know that I approach things in this light. Yeah. So we just have empathy for each other. That's all. I think that's really all it is.
I think it almost maybe just expedites the process a little bit in learning how someone processes emotion, how it comes out in their behavior. Like I think that's quite handy.
Yep.
Because they're quite accurate.
Yep.
They're pretty accurate.
Yeah.
So it allows you to just maybe understand someone before you learn all the context behind who makes them who they are, you know?
Last two, I like these ones. What you value in a leader. I think this is a good one, which again, it's a good one in general. Like you should be hopefully you have a workplace that's open enough that you can communicate to your leadership. Yeah. How you would like to, like what traits you want to see in them and what you value out of leadership. But if you don't have that, then a user manual or a guide on yourself, or even maybe you never share this with anyone, Linda. Maybe this is something you build for yourself. Yeah. Because you need to have a level of self-awareness to be able to build one of these things, number one. And if you're struggling with building one, answering some of these questions, well, maybe that's a sign you need to do a little bit more kind of reflection. Introspective work. And just like looking into yourself and like, what do you want for yourself? What are your weaknesses? Yeah. Where should you be working?
Exactly. I actually think that this is a really good one for someone who is applying for jobs, asking the potential employer. Yep. Like from a leadership point of view, what matters to them. Yeah, I think it's good to uncover that during the interview process, actually.
What you value in a leader.
Yeah, talking about that and asking them, like, what do they think leadership is?
Yeah. Because someone might say something really like management. You're like, yep, nope, not a good fit. And then
totally,
not to come back for that
it's a great question to ask, like how they define leadership and what they value.
It'll give you a lot of insight into how they run the business, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Or the team.
Yeah. Using it as an open-ended question.
That's a good one. I think, if anyone's listening and you want a question to take away for interviews in future, what do you value in a leader, or asking who's interviewing you, like what are some of the values your leadership have?
Yeah.
It's very good, very insightful.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay, so on to the last one, and I really, really like this one. This was actually one of the ones that came up in that training last year I mentioned before. How do you prefer to communicate? Now, at a surface level, text, SMS, WhatsApp, Snapchat, Instagram, or email, like which one? But I think we mean a lot deeper than just the method or the medium, sorry. But we genuinely mean, the method, right? So how do you like to be spoken to? I gave a really good example just a moment ago about one of our team members.
Yeah.
And when I provide her with feedback, she does not like, for lack of better words, beating around the bush.
Okay.
She just wants me to get straight to the thing.
Yeah.
Right? And I think at Red Pandas we have a little bit of not so much we beat around the bush, but we vanguard, and then we we prop the feedback up before we give the feedback sometimes.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it. Like, I think I like receiving feedback like that. I don't really have an issue with it, to be honest.
Yeah. What is your preference?
In the moment. Don't wait. I can't stand it when people sit on feedback.
But like with the psychological safety padding, do you prefer
No,
direct?
I think I'd probably prefer it just straight out.
Yeah.
Because like the padding that comes around it, I feel like is to make sure that I know I'm safe.
Yeah.
I know I'm safe.
Yeah.
Right? Whatever it is that you need to give to me, just give it to me straight.
Yeah.
And I think maybe it's not a Red Panda thing. It could be like an Australian thing. I actually think it could be like a bit of an Australian cultural thing.
No.
You don't reckon?
No. None of my other experiences tell me that it is.
Okay, so it's just us.
I honestly think
we like the padding.
Like one thing that Omid will often say to me is like, you guys are really like safe and really conscious of each other's feelings when delivering feedback and saying things. Like I know for his industry in real estate, like it is just it's like cutthroat, give it to me straight. I haven't got time. Like let's be like, for them, psychological safety is being able to take the feedback direct and not getting emotionally like involved. You know what I mean?
Maybe it's because like when we first started the business, I was so young. And when Moby would give me feedback, I would just cry. So then he's like, oh, God, all right, I can't have her crying all the time. So
to the value of psychological safety, he was born with Tasha.
Well, I'm trying to think about like where did it come from? Do you know what I mean? Because like I've been here from before me it was just Mobes.
Yeah.
So like is that where it came from?
Just all the emotional women in Moby's life.
Maybe. And so he's just learned, okay, when I give feedback to the team, it's got to be like this. But that was close to 10 years ago. I've grown now. I've got a 3-year-old. Like we work with international, salesmen and women and leaders. And I'm like, I don't have time for that anymore. Just give it to me straight.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting that the evolution of things like that and understanding how we want things or don't want them. I know I give feedback very directly.
What I will say as well is we love direct feedback because we know the intention behind it.
Yes.
So I think it has to be like there has to be a caveat there.
Yeah.
People can give direct feedback and you can say you prefer to communicate directly.
Yeah.
But if the intention's not right, then you don't love it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's so
it's
true.
Coming from,
and when you've got rapport with someone, when you've got a relationship with them, like the way you and I can give feedback to each other.
Yeah.
Because of the years we've known each other and we know how each other works.
Yeah.
We know each other's user manuals quite well.
It's so weird.
We could do that. But a newcomer, it's going to take time.
Yeah.
Like one of our new DMCs, 3 months into, her work, she's doing a fantastic job, but we're still learning those kind of
how to communicate.
Yeah, those communication skills, if you will, between the two of us and how that looks for our relationship.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Yeah. I don't think I'm against user manuals. I don't think I'm fully for them though.
I think I'm against them.
I feel like I'm in the middle somewhere.
I think just have really good conversations and use these points in conversations with your colleagues.
This is true.
Yeah.
And if you feel like creating like a OnlyFans page, non-sexual OnlyFans
We're going to end this podcast,
page,
you guys.
you could do your user manual on there that you then like just your Notion. Just like, you know, it's like on your card. You say, hey guys, here's my user manual.
Oh no, Moby's not going to endorse this podcast. It's not going live.
I think it's just about like if you're an introvert and you're not overly keen on talking to a whole bunch of people, but you want people to get to know you.
Yeah.
Spend a bit of time on reflecting, learn about yourself, and maybe a quote unquote user manual, whatever you want to call it, could be helpful for you.
Yeah.
Could be helpful to build relationships in the workplace and let your new colleagues, friends, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, learn more about you.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah,
See?
we can leave it there.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. All right, Linda, always a pleasure.
Likewise, T.
Hopefully not as hairy next podcast.
God. Goodbye, guys.
Bye.